Alright, I guess we're live.
We're live, people!
We are live, yeah.
I'm gonna move a little closer to the mic here. But,
Right. Just get a little situation going.
So, yeah, like we were talking about before the podcast started, or
I mean, I don't even know if we could call this a podcast. I think to be, like, officially a podcast, you have to be syndicated on some level. Like,
when what that means is, like, there's an organization, like the FCC of podcasts, that decides whether or not you're a podcast. And, like,
you don't really need anything to be a podcast other than a fucking recording of you talking. That's it. They don't have any rules. Like, you can sit there and talk about Big Black Dick for 4 hours. And it's like, okay, we've got the Big Black Dick hour. It's not for children, but they still put it out on iTunes. Just to put a fucking an X rating on it.
but no, yeah, so, whatever the fuck this is, whatever this, what I call
50
this show.
Shades of Podcasts.
50 Shades of Podcast. So yeah, before this started, we were talking about mushrooms, and like you're saying, like you don't like regular mushrooms. You love the psychedelic ones.
Yeah.
Which I mean, I think I like the psychedelic ones too, because
Although I've only done it a couple times, but you know.
I'm gonna turn this way a little bit because it's like getting hit the mic this way.
and I think it's weird if we're both looking directly into the camera. I don't know. You can do whatever the fuck you want. I'm just thinking
trying to
out
get
loud.
allocated with the people that are going to be watching.
Yeah, like I said, do whatever the hell you
They
want.
might like my handsome face, you know. I'm sure there's someone's going to like your face too.
Oh, trust me, I've had callers. Like women callers, gentlemen callers. There's some people who like me. Not necessarily the people that I like back.
Word.
But anyway, so mushrooms, yeah, no, they you have to cook them the right way. And like I was saying just a minute ago, there may be like no way to like get you to like mushrooms ever. You may like always hate them. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I think that there could be a way. There could definitely be a way. Like we made the right kind of gravy. Like if I made you a mushroom pie, oh, dude, I think you'd like that.
I mean, I'm always open to trying it. I'm not going to be one of those cats. Oh, I'll never like it. And
Right, but then you just never do
try to
it.
open my fucking taste buds up to it. But I'm always open to it, like beer, you know. We were talking about how we don't like fruity beer at all. I was at a beer tasting yesterday, and I tried one of the fruity beers just because maybe I like it, and I do not like it. I've just come to say
Yeah,
that.
there's something odd about it. Like if I wanted fruit in my beer, I'd drink wine.
Yeah.
I would
And
just
I can't
drink sparkling
wine.
wine. I can drink the sparkling wine though. That stuff, it's really sweet. I can't have too much of it because it's just too much sugar. But the fucking,
I don't know. I like
it's
it.
dank. I really do. I like Moscato, D'Asti, that kind of stuff. Like those dessert wines. Champagne is too much. That's way too much.
As
sugar.
long as
too
it's
sweet.
not too dry.
Yeah, I don't like the dry ones. Except Riesling is okay. Depending on the brand. There's certain brands of Riesling that are really good. Like there's this one at the store I used to work in called Relax, and it's
It's a good one. I mean, it's pretty heavy though. Like it gave me a hangover.
that might have been because I was mixing it with tequila,
Well,
or was it whiskey?
I don't know. But
I don't
Do it.
remember. It was bad. I was like taking shots of hard alcohol. Like I had 4 or 5 shots of either tequila or whiskey, and maybe even 6 or 7. And I was chasing it with this bottle of fucking Relax Riesling, and it was like a full 750. And I killed that bottle that night, or most of it.
sounds like a night not to remember.
Yeah, oh yeah. It's a hard, heavy drinker. Now I'm trying not to do that as much, but that's neither here nor there.
How's that fucking how's that Starburst? What's it taste like?
It's like any other IPA, honestly.
I kind of like that about IPAs. Like as long as I don't fuck it up, I put fruit in there.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. Like there's this one Voodoo Ranger. That one has nothing but it's like a really
You're
citrusy
talking
one.
about the citrus haze one?
Yeah, no, just regular Voodoo Ranger. That has citrus notes in it too. It's not as strong as the hazy one, but it's still kind of, it still tastes fruity to me. It's got like an orangey taste to it.
I don't know.
Do you like Voodoo Ranger?
I do like Voodoo Ranger.
I-
Not too bad.
I used to. Maybe I just had too much of it. I lost my taste for it. Or,
I'm the guy that drinks local stuff, you know?
oh yeah, I like local stuff too. And like if it's got a Colorado label on it, I'll try it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I regret that though. Like there's I can't remember the name of it. Yeah, I don't know if it's Breckenridge or not. I think it is. But they have this this sampler pack that I've bought 2 or 3 times. 'Cause the first time I got it, it was all right. It was beer, And I think the reason that I liked it was because I was just drinking so much at the time that I was just down in them.
Yeah.
And I started with the good ones. I got lucky. I happened to pick the one good one. They drink 3 of those, and you got a buzz on. Now you can drink the rest of the case, the other 15 beers in the case.
Yeah.
And they all taste good because you have no taste buds anymore.
Yep.
And so it just becomes like you think it's good, but it's really not. So then I bought it again, and I started with one of the ones that I thought was good, that I had no, not at all. It was like a vanilla porter, and it was warm when I fucking drank it. It was just so gross. It was like, ugh. It wasn't just like it tasted bad. It was just heavy on my body and in my stomach. Like it felt like I was drinking fucking molasses with alcohol in it. And I just can't fucking deal with that.
Yeah.
You hear that upstairs?
I do hear that.
Oh Jesus, that's them fucking the people above us are intoxicated as shit. You can hear it. But
Hey, they must be having a good time though.
they probably are, I hope the mic can pick us up. Wait, I'm gonna change the levels real fast just in case, because we're sitting pretty far back, and that's like set up for recording hip hop music, which is meant to be where your face is like right up next to the fucking pop filter.
Right.
But what were we just talking about?
Our beer selection.
Oh, beer selections. Yeah. So then I tried it again, and it was terrible. I don't know why I bought it the third time. I think I was just trying to give it the benefit of the doubt, just to see like, oh, maybe there's, maybe I just got a bad batch. Maybe that's why the second case sucked. And no, the third case sucked worse than the second one.
Yeah.
So I don't drink Breckenridge anymore.
I can't drink dark beer. I've had this one. Had a picture of Hunter S. Thompson drawings on it.
Dude,
it wasn't Hunter S. Thompson drawings, but it was the guy that made
drawings for Hunter S. Yeah, I don't remember his name.
I don't remember his name, but
hold on. What is his name? Here, Jamie, can you look that up for us?
Hey, only if my girlfriend was here, that'd work out great.
That would be great. Now, here, what were you saying though about the beer?
Man, that thing was rated to like 10% alcohol content. And it was a fucking beer.
It was a beer, he says.
And I got through 2 bottles of that, and I just couldn't have any more. My mom drank the rest of it. I didn't touch it for about a week.
Damn, dude. Like, how much? Wait, how much did you say you had of it?
I had two bottles of it.
2 bottles of it, and then oh, I get what you were saying. Okay.
And it was just too bad. I couldn't finish it. I think I might have had 3 the night after, just get a buzz, but yeah.
That's gnarly.
I thought it would have been good just because, our inspirations to life.
Well, yeah, like you'd think the Hunter S. Thompson beer would be strong, but you know what I've noticed though? Any beer that's more than like 7%, it's too fucking strong to drink. It's like beer is not supposed to be that strong. So, although the funny thing about that is though, if you go over to like Europe and Germany, their beer is like 13-14%. It's stronger than wine.
Yeah.
Or at least stronger than American wine. When you go over to Europe, the wine is like 20-22%.
Right.
They don't have the strict alcohol laws over there. Ralph Steadman.
Yeah.
That's him. He's the guy who does those drawings. So yeah, he had that kind of like gonzo journalism artwork on. I've seen those. Yeah, it's at that one liquor store at like fucking Austin. Yeah. So
I tried that one night because I was like, looks interesting. Needless to say, I did not have a very good time drinking that.
Oh, did I imagine? That beer is probably made for people on acid, I have to say. I've noticed, like, the only time I've ever been able to drink really, really high-proof beer and have a good time is when I'm tripping.
Yeah.
If I have, like, a tab or 2 in me, then I can drink anything, really. I can drink, like, the fucking best of them, and I don't even really feel it. Might feel it the next morning. Like, I end up, like, okay, so a couple of weeks ago, actually, a couple of months ago, this was back in November, I think. I took like, I don't know, 2 hits or some shit like that. Yeah, I think it was 2 hits. And I drank a gallon of margaritas that night. And it hit me. It fucking hit me the next day. I didn't have a hangover. My body was just sore. Like, every fucking muscle in my body was just like fucking aching. And I was like, it was just pain. and it was weird because I never felt drunk like throughout the whole night. I think it was just like the acid has just a strong hold on you that you can't really feel anything else.
Yeah.
Except really weed. You can feel weed on acid. You can get high. But the alcohol still did damage to my body. Like it still takes a physical toll. Probably like killed part of my liver.
And if I can recollect anything from our past acid trips, it really does. It's more overpowering than anything else that you put into your body once you've dropped. Like, as far as weed goes, you can tell that you know you're getting high, but at the same time,
You don't
like you're
fully
getting
feel
high.
it. Yeah. It's like the remnants of getting high, but not
Yeah.
the full effect. Although, I think there's different kinds of acid. I found that out. Like there's things that are like test chemicals
Right.
that aren't real LSD 25 chemically, but they imitate it and they act similar to it. Because I've had certain trips where I'll smoke weed and the weed will mix with whatever the fuck it was that I took, and it'll affect me in a way that's different than acid.
Right.
Where all of a sudden, like it makes me start hallucinating. Like there was one time where I took this baller fucking acid, and it didn't feel bad. So if it was a test chemical, it was a good one. But it was a good one. He's a keeper, because there's some of them are bad, some of them are okay. Like when I say bad, I mean like bad for you. They're like kind of toxic. You really shouldn't do them because there's never really been any studies done to say what the long-term effects of these chemicals are. Yeah, because they're just test chemicals. Yeah, it's just something somebody cooked up in a lab that makes you hallucinate. God knows what it's doing to your body. We have done many, not we, but it wasn't me and him, but like the U.S. government especially has done many studies on the effects of LSD specifically on the body. And when the Nixon administration found out what they were doing, they shut it down. The tests have since been declassified, but a lot of the records from those tests were destroyed way back when in the 60s because Nixon did not fucking want people to know what they found out. Now, based on the shit that has happened to us on acid trips, I mean, that seems kind of plausible, right?
Yeah.
Remember that one time we were driving around a Garden of the Gods? It's like fucking early in the morning, and we had spent all night driving around through Garden of the Gods with that one kid in the back seat. We're talking about like the angel-demon war and shit.
Yeah, that's the night we got the DMT.
Yeah, the DMT.
And we were trying to do the DMT at the peak of our trip, but
and then we were trying to do it out of his dab rig.
We couldn't.
Because we weren't supposed to.
Yeah, and then when we got to Palm Park,
we did the DMT.
That's when it worked. Yeah, that was crazy shit.
Oh yeah, and then like there was a moment during that trip, like after we dropped your friend off, we were driving back around through Garden of the Gods, just trying to find a place to do the DMT. We had that telepathic moment where we were talking about what. I don't remember how we got on the subject. I think you were telling me a story that you had read on the internet, or I was telling you a story that I'd read about how certain people have shared trip experiences with people who aren't even in the same room.
Oh, I remember now. I was we were quiet for a while, and then all of a sudden I was like, I bet you there's someone out there in Germany tripping acid while we're tripping acid.
That's right. That is how it happened. It just came out of nowhere. It wasn't even an internet thing. Like you just said that out of nowhere, and then like I tried to tune into whatever it is that you were feeling, and I felt it too, or I imagined it at least. And it's like right when we acknowledged them, they like acknowledged us. Because we both heard it at the same time. Like whoever, it was like two people in Germany who were like, "Hello," in German.
Oh, good times, man. That same night, I remember we were talking about the 13 somethings of Buddhism.
That's right. The 300.
The 300 and
they're the people.
No.
The monks who have
300 monks.
Yeah. There are roughly 300 monks who have transcended physical form into something on a much higher level, like a pure form of just consciousness. And what the idea is that in certain sects of Buddhism, they believe that you can become a living Buddha by meditating so deeply that your body becomes like mummified while you're still alive. And then your consciousness just transcends the body into the higher dimensions without you dying. So it's a way to stop the reincarnation cycle. But it's such a high level of like spiritual purity and like such a deep meditation. It's almost impossible to do. That's why like only 300 people in the history of man have done it. And they weren't all Buddhists either. Some of them have done it like through Taoism and other practices, but it's like you get into such a deep psychedelic state that you transcend death.
Yeah.
It's a way to like it's a way to conquer death. That's the highest form of alchemy, and supposedly their consciousness still exists. They like became gods almost, and like they just exist as pure spirits who transcended death and don't ever have to come back. They can just stay there in that state, and they're in like the realm of transcendence up there. Like they're the only ones who exist in that realm. Only those who have transcended can go there.
But here's the reason I brought that up.
Right? Well, why? Why?
Because you don't remember me telling you I went into that realm that night?
No. When did that happen? Was that when we did the DMT?
Yeah, it was the same trip. We were guarding the gods with the guy in the back, and I think we were all getting stoned. And I closed my eyes for a few minutes. We were talking about we were on something, like some topic that I don't remember, but it had to do with those Buddhist monks. And I remember closing my eyes, and all of a sudden I'm in this black little,
Speak up.
this like black eternal space, I guess. And I see circles, but they're not like normal circles. They were circles of flames that were souls.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one in the middle that came out, and it had noticed my presence there in that realm, and it was like, we are those Buddhist monks that you are currently talking about.
Oh, Jesus Christopher Columbus Christ, that's fucking insane.
And I shit you not, this is not stuff that I can make up, you know?
No, why would you? Why would you? That's insane.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I have to say, there was one thing that happened later that morning that I don't think I ever told you about, or maybe I did, but it's something that I've always kind of, like, it bothered me a little bit. It's natural, because anybody would feel fear in that state. Like, we were still tripping pretty hard on the acid. And we were in Palmer Park, we did the DMT, and I took the first one. And I remember I fucking took it. And you, like, my fucking spirit, or, like, my energy, whatever the fuck you want to call it, it, like, burst out. But I, like, caught it and took it back in and just held it. And I looked over, there was, like, the first second when it was, like, this, and I'm, like, I could feel it. I could feel myself, like, about to blast off into this, like, spontaneous astral projection. And I looked over at you, and I'm like, I took too much. Shit. And I, like, just fucking sat there. And I knew for a fact that if I closed my eyes, I would see something so profound that it would change everything about me. And that scared me on this deep, deep fundamental level. And I couldn't fucking do it. Even when I tried taking another hit later on, like after the 15 minutes had passed. And because like I could feel it in my mind. Like, even though my eyes were open and I was, like, holding myself in the physical realm, I could see it with my third eye. I was supposed to, like, meet God. I could see, like, what I saw in my mind's eye was basically, like, the stairway to heaven. It literally looked like a giant-ass fucking pure staircase. Yeah. And at the top were, like, it wasn't gates, it was just, like, 3 thrones. There was one God in the middle and then 2 women on the sides. And I think that was, I think that's the Hindu shit. It's like Shiva, Vishnu, and Krishna, or Brahma, or whatever the third one is. And they, the one in the middle was Vishnu. Vishnu had my face. And I could tell, like, what that meant was, like, that was the part of God that is, like, the soul. Like, we all have so I believe, at least, like, whatever we are as, like, individuals, like, not just living beings, but, like, all things that exist are a manifestation of the universe. Right. They're of the God form, essentially. Because the God form is the universe. Yeah. And the universe is, like, the sub-base particles that creates everything. What it is, it's like a thing that forms into other things. And so the piece of God that was in me, it was at the top of the staircase in the center throne, and it was looking down at me with this sternness, like, It was like it was pissed at me because it knew I was too scared to come talk to it. And but it had this, like, smirk on its face. Like, it knew why I was scared. And it was like, yeah, you should be scared because what I was about to tell you just now was going to freak you the fuck out.
and like it just, I knew I wasn't ready for it right then. I wasn't ready to handle that.
Yeah, isn't that sort of shit crazy?
It is.
That's crazy.
It's insane. It's absolutely insane. Because like these are just chemicals. Like acid and DMT, like these are just chemicals that activate psychedelic receptors in your brain, and they cause you to think and see and hear things that technically don't exist in the physical realm. We don't have enough scientific equipment and know-how to prove or disprove these things. But I believe we have enough people who tripped throughout all of human history to say that this something is there, whether
Yeah.
it's in your mind or in another dimension. There's something like there's a secret door in our brain, and when we take these psychedelics, the door is unlocked. Like the
Yeah.
psychedelics are the key, and like people say that DMT is the chemical gateway. Like
Yeah.
it's actually taking you to another world, and these beings you meet are actually real.
And I mean, like, have you ever? Well, actually, I know the answer to this question. You have had a bad trip before. You've
yeah.
encountered evil beings, not just good ones.
I don't know if it would be considered evil beings. Bad trips I take that back. I've had an encounter with one evil being, whatever the fuck that wombat,
Yeah, that bat thing. Yeah.
whatever that winged beast was that showed up that night, that was an evil entity.
And no one's heard this story but me. You want to tell that story real quick?
Yeah, I'll tell the story. You know, I happened to get a tab of acid. It was just one tab of acid. And usually I don't indulge in this sort of activity alone. I like to do it recreationally. And even though sometimes recreationally that turns into a spiritual opening mind, that's all cool with me. But it was one of those weird times where I had done it by myself, and I went over to a buddy's house because I had nowhere else to go, and I was watching Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas because you told me that that's a movie to watch while you're tripping.
Yeah,
So I was
it's a great movie to
this is
watch.
the time to do this. So I tried doing it, and of course, something, or I don't want to blame anything, but in the back of my mind, I know that something was preventing me from finishing that movie on acid.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah, there's like weird coincidences that happen when you're tripping, and like
Because
remember
that movie, I didn't know what you understood about. You have to watch that movie while you're on acid.
Yeah,
Until I watched it, because why? That movie came alive.
Yeah, it does. It does. There's something about the way they filmed it, the type of cameras they used, the lighting. It's meant to be so vibrant and aesthetic that it like activates the visual quality of LSD. And I don't know how else to explain it. Like, it literally makes you trip harder.
And to me, my experience with that movie was that, for example, the scene where they're in the casino at the Circus Casino, where they're in the vortex of the American dream. That broke my understanding of that movie to where it's not about doing the crazy shit you can possibly. It's about what this country's made of. As far as like our actions, our thoughts, how we do things, how we wish for things, how we dream of things. And that was the scene that really made me understand, like, this is interesting. But not to make the story long, the movie cut out on me. Like, his PlayStation just shut off for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's like right after the diner scene.
It could have just been like it could have just overheated or something. But the acid part of me was like, because it happens to my console every time when I'm watching something, it just lags out and turns off by itself. But this one, it just shut off by itself, like someone or something pressed the button to turn it off. I was like, okay, whatever. I'm going to go into the shed, smoke some weed. And I'm smoking weed, listening to music, and I'm thinking in my head that I'm just kind of talking, because I had no one else there with me, and I needed company or whatever. So I started talking to myself in my head, and I was probably talking to my ego, maybe something else, I don't know. But there was a moment where I stopped talking in my head, and I said out loud that I can talk to myself. It's okay. It's not a crime. And as soon as I said that, a couple of seconds later, the light in the shed turned off, and I don't know how I could see this, but behind me there's this giant. I want to call it a wombat. This whole entire time I've called it a wombat for some reason.
A wombat looks like a koala.
Yeah, I don't know why I called it wombat. It's
Maybe
like,
okay.
it's like a wombat with wings.
No, I know what you're saying though. I think wombat. You meant it was a big fucking bat.
Yeah.
Like wombat should be Wombat should be giant bat.
Yeah.
Like a fruit bat. You ever seen one of those at the zoo? They're like fucking 6-foot wingspan. That's a wombat. That's a womba bat.
But this thing
I
was,
womba, he, she, me, womba, you womba. It's first grade, SpongeBob.
oh man.
Fucking SpongeBob. Anyway,
But this thing was the size of the shed. It was pretty much maybe that shed. Thinking of it now, maybe that was a manifestation of what the shed is, what that hangout spot is.
That could be.
So I just gathered all my stuff and just left that shed. Went back into the living room, laid down on the couch, and was like, "It's time for bed." But I had forgotten I'm on acid, so I can't go to sleep. At this point, I could close my eyes. Maybe I could put my spirit to rest, but I didn't think of it at that time. There's a lot of things that I could have done differently on this trip that I think about now, but I get really restless, and I get to the top of the stairs, and I'm up there, and there's something holding me back for some reason, because I wanted to go smoke a cigarette in the garage. There was something holding me back from doing that. And
You said it felt like a physical force, right?
It felt physical in the sense that something was like I couldn't move. And
Like it was almost like holding you.
Yeah, it was holding me, and so I'm looking around like what's going on, and then all of a sudden the door to the garage it just starts opening.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what the hell is going on? So at that point I got totally freaked out, and I straight ran out that. I broke whatever force was holding me back.
Mm-hmm.
At the top of those stairs, I ran out the front door and got into my car, started it up. And at this point, I had no idea what I was going to do.
Jesus.
So I just started to drive around. And I got onto this one road. It's kind of a main road where we live, and I didn't see this before when I had left until I got onto this road. I saw like hundreds of black shadows, and it wasn't just shadows as in like silhouettes. You could tell that it was like bodily apparitions of people at one point, And I'm like, what is this? And the crazy thing is, it didn't freak me out like what had happened at the house. Those spirits didn't freak me out or anything. It honestly, it made me more comfortable to see them. And from what I'm gathering, they were just Native Americans that are just lost from all the
like we were talking.
massacres that happened here in Colorado.
Yeah, like when we were talking about this earlier before the podcast, it's like I was saying, well, I've written about that in one of my songs. This is the Dirtbag Dan Show. There's this line, like I've seen it in the darkness, hundreds of hollow hearts. There's like this one night I was driving around with a couple of friends of mine, and like we were driving back from one friend's house to my apartment, and I could see it like lining the streets. Like all three of us saw it. Like it wasn't just like me hallucinating. Like all three of us saw this as we were driving the whole way there from his house to my apartment. There was just hundreds of these like dark shadow figures lining the sides of the streets. It looked like a fucking army was amassing in the city.
Yeah.
And
That's exactly what it looked like.
Yeah, and then you saw the exact same thing.
I saw the same exact thing. And as I was driving around the road, they'd be in front of my car, but they all moved around it. And I can't say that they were communicating with me, but in a sense that they were making me so comfortable on this trip that it almost felt like hey, we're here to help you, watch your back, not get in trouble, sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And crazy to think, dude. I mean, those are the two profound things I remember from that trip. I don't remember anything else other than just listening to Flatbush Zombies, feeling hella badass, driving around in my car, tripping acid. But I mean,
psychedelics are really interesting, like in the sense that like you can I don't know, like There have been many, many times when I've taken like acid or mushrooms, hoping to have like some spiritual shit happen, like hoping to encounter ghosts
It
and do
doesn't
some
really
shaman shit.
happen like
Yeah,
that.
right, exactly. But like when you take it just as a goof, like someone will give it to you like offhand, it'll just be handed to you, and you're like, okay. And those are the trips where like you're not expecting anything to happen. You're kind of just hoping, hey, I hope it's a chill night. I hope nothing crazy happens, and something crazy does happen,
Right.
and you end up encountering something that it you like it. If you weren't a rational person, you would just immediately believe, yeah, I saw a ghost. Yeah, I saw demons. Yeah, I saw aliens or whatever the fuck. But like as a rational person, you have to sit back and wonder, did I really see that? But it was so real, you can't deny it.
Yeah.
It was so fucking real that like you have no idea what the hell it is you just experienced. Because you don't experience that shit when you're sober, and you don't experience that shit with other substances. Like you're not gonna experience this on alcohol or marijuana or meth or heroin. I mean, I don't know from experience with meth and heroin, but I've drunk enough liquor and I've smoked enough weed to know that you're not gonna have the same experiences as you will like with a heavy acid trip or like a good dose of DMT. Like that's just they're never gonna equate.
Yeah, I mean, even with marijuana being considered a very mild psychedelic,
Mhm.
you're going to see things. Like I've seen
Oh,
Like,
speaking of which,
one of the first times I ever smoked. I saw mailboxes that looked like people. But that's because I was very inexperienced smoker. I had smoked in the bowl for my first time, and I was like, wow, those trees look like people for some reason. But yeah, I mean, psychedelic wise, it's like you can never expect to have a good time. You can never expect what's going to happen because that's just not how these psychedelics work at all. I feel like the things that happen on psychedelics, like you said, they come on based on experience and what goes on in your life, pretty much.
mm-hmm.
And you can never expect to have a good trip. You can never expect to have a bad trip. It's going to have its ups and downs.
It's gonna basically be whatever the universe wants it to be. I feel like when you take psychedelics, you're literally opening yourself up to the cosmos.
Yeah.
And there's gonna be a lot of people that say, "Oh, well, that's some hippy dippy, woo woo, new age shit," but I don't mean it the way that they do.
Yeah.
Because I know what the new age people mean when they say like the God is the universe and the cosmos and all that nonsense. I think a lot of that is nonsense. I don't think crystals talk to people. I think crystals have like a little bit of electrical properties. Nikola Tesla proved that. But anyway, I think when you're taking psychedelics, you're opening yourself up to the cosmos. Because I think that we are the universe manifested into one form or another. And when you're tripping, you're like tapping into that. You're tapping into the interconnectedness between your existence and the rest of existence. And existence is reflected in itself. Like the thoughts that you have are a reflection of what's going on in the world around you. The world around you is a reflection of the thoughts that you're having. That's kind of like what the law of attraction states. Like what you think is what manifests in your life. And like, kind of goes back into what we were saying before the podcast about like how when we're making music, we had to learn the hard way that like when for whatever reason, whenever you like make a song about something, you have to be careful what you write about, like with the lyrics, because if you say something wrong, it might manifest into your life.
Exactly.
You could like say something negative because you're in a bad mood at the time, or because you don't realize the implications of it, and next thing you know, that bad thing you said in the song is happening in your life. It becomes your life. And like that's why I try to keep my music positive to a certain degree as much as possible, even if I am in a bad mood. Because I know that like that shit's gonna come back at me.
Yeah.
And like especially when I'm tripping. Like again, saying this before the podcast, how I've noticed how since I started making music, my trips got they changed. They became more music oriented, and it like I already knew that. Well, I already felt as though tripping opened you up to the cosmos before I made music. But it's almost like when I started making music, the cosmos took an interest in me. It's like, oh, you're rapping, you're writing songs, shit. Let me fucking feed you some info. And I started like when I started writing music, whether I was tripping or not, actually, I started like just getting all this knowledge coming from some unknown source. And I felt like that was either my soul or God or the spirit realm or just like some kind of higher energy that wasn't original to my brain and my physical body. And like that's what the Nameless is. The Nameless is wherever the fuck wherever the fuck that information comes from, whatever it is.
Right.
And like when you're tripping, you're opening yourself up to that.
Yeah.
So like I kind of got to know Nameless through tripping and music.
Yeah. See, here's the I didn't understand what the name Nameless meant till one of the trips. This is a mass trip I was on with my girlfriend. That was an interesting trip. Yeah, I'm sure.
What happened?
It was a good trip, but once the sun came back up, it was really weird. I couldn't. Once the sun came up, it got this weird pattern of when the sun comes up, I start having bad trips for some reason.
That's strange.
But yeah, we're tripping, and this was at the time when I was doing something I should not have been doing. I was kind of scared for my life.
Yeah, yeah.
The two local kids from our state got murdered, and I felt like, I don't know why, but I took that as kind of a warning to me. But after, I guess I can't really tell for sure what had happened that night when those poor souls got murdered. But on the acid trip, it definitely felt like it was towards me for some whatever odd reason.
Or you were like learning from it.
Yeah, yeah. So I quit doing what I was doing that day, pretty much. But I couldn't ground myself to be having a good trip. This trip went on for 12 hours longer than it should have, and we had only taken one tab each. And for some reason, I thought the birds were surveillance birds.
Oh, jeez.
Every little
The helicopters are watching me, man.
No, not helicopters, birds.
No,
are
no,
watching
I know, I was just joking. That's I'm good, fellas.
Right, but yeah, that's what it felt like. And I completely forgot what I was trying to get to.
Oh, you're talking about that trip you had with Jamie the last time you tripped.
Yeah.
How you figured out what Nameless meant.
Oh yeah, I closed my eyes and felt this entity named Nameless. And it wasn't your physical form, but it was what gives you the information.
Yeah.
Nameless entity.
Uh-huh.
I had met it. Yeah. I had met it.
Jesus.
And you know what's crazy?
Uh-huh.
Every back when you lived at Ridgeview, all your posters, all those drawings you had hanging up on your wall, that was what the Nameless entity looked like. Yeah.
Dude, that's what I see when I do DMT.
Yeah.
It's like a circus of like a million different archetypal attribute characters, and some of it's animated, some of it's very realistic, and it's like everything.
That's
like
what
you're
the
looking
Nameless
at
entity is.
Yeah, it's everything.
I asked him what it was, because I didn't know what it was, and he was like, I am the Nameless entity. And I was like, wow.
Dude, that's fucking mind. I've never heard this story before.
Yeah.
That's mind-blowing as fuck. Like,
Yeah.
holy shit, dude.
Yeah, I completely forgot about it till now, because you can never really remember your trips unless you're sitting down and talking to somebody about them.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't get that chance every day.
No.
You tell someone you've done acid, they're like, oh, cool. Oh, I've done acid too. But I don't know if your experiences with acid have ever been like what we experienced. Not to say that every experience should be judged, but you never know, because you can never tell. Because unless you sit down with somebody who's done acid,
they're not even gonna know what you're talking about.
And
I've tried telling acid
Yeah.
stories to my friends who've never done it. Like, I have this one friend. She's a very nice person, and we can talk about like literally anything. Like, she sat there and listened to me tell her these stories about my acid trips, but I could tell just by the look on her face that she wasn't getting it. She was being polite because she was interested in what I had to say, because they're fucking fascinating stories. Like, I'll tell one here in a minute. Like, just
just for the fuck of it. It was just a cool story, but it's something that can't happen on LSD. But like, I could just tell they just don't understand. Like I've tried having the same conversations with my family members about it, and sometimes they do kind of get it. Like they'll look at you and go like, "Oh, whoa, that's so amazing. That's so awesome. It makes me kind of want to do it." And then you tell them maybe another aspect of it, and they're like, "Oh, well, now I'm scared and I'm never going to do it."
Yeah.
Because it's a precarious substance. It can go south on you. You can have a bad trip that really fucks with your head. Like that happened to me recently, where like I took a dose of some really really powerful mushrooms, but the people around me were having like a really really shitty day. Could you grab me one of those two?
Beer?
Yeah, Starburst. Yeah. So they were just they were in a really bad mood and they were fighting, and it just it caused me to have a bad trip, and it shook me like for like a week or two afterwards. I was in like a slump. Not even necessarily depressed per se, but it was as if I was depressed. Like I couldn't, I wasn't at 100%. You know what I'm saying? I was off my game with everything, with getting out of bed in the morning, with like being on time with things, with getting my goals taken care of, and all this and that. Like it was all bad. It was just all bad. And like now and like eventually it passed. It took like a week or two though, and it just So yeah, no. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, it can go south on you, and when you tell people that, because you have to be honest with people. You don't want someone to go into psychedelics with like no briefing whatsoever, because that like you don't know how it's gonna affect people. You have to people have to be wary. Like don't spend the entire trip worrying about something bad happening or something bad will happen. Just be careful. Don't take acid and then run home naked in a snowstorm. Like that can fucking happen if you're not careful. Because
Very true.
I mean, I've only ever seen it happen to one person, and he's just the type of person that should not take acid. Like there are certain people that just cannot take psychedelics because the brain is not
I
wired
agree
for
with
it.
you on that.
No, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, psychedelics, man, they're sensitive.
Yeah.
They make you really sensitive.
Oh yeah. Like there was one time I was tripping, and during the night when I was tripping, everything was okay. But the next morning, I had to go to work, and I was staying with my mother at the time. Why I was tripping at my mother's house, don't ask me. I'm a madman. But anyway, so she woke me up, or she came to get me up that morning, so like I could fucking start getting ready for work, and just because she's a nice person, and like I was awake from the night before, still tripping, and at first she didn't really notice anything, but after like talking to her for maybe like a few sentences, she realized I was tripping, and she got pissed about it because she doesn't understand. Like I've told her stories about it,
Right.
and she thought it was fascinating. She was one of those people that said, "Oh, it makes me want to do it when you tell me these stories." But when she saw me on it, she didn't see what I was seeing. She didn't feel what I was feeling. She just saw her son with bugged out eyes acting funny.
Right.
And she was like, "I don't like acid. Now, I think acid's bad. I don't care about any of the stories you've told me. I've never experienced it for myself. But based on what I've seen in this one moment here with what it's doing to you, now I don't like it." Because she just didn't understand what was going on.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, the reason why I was acting funny was because I was trying to hide the fact that I was tripping. That can make you, like, that can just make you twitchy when you're tripping. It can make you act like a goofball.
Yeah.
She's like, you're trying to act normal, but you're trying way too hard. You start thinking of, like, how does a normal person talk?
You completely forget all of that.
So, Mother, what nice weather day we're having today? Yes, this day is a nice weather day. She's like, what the fuck?
You know what? I think we should move on to that topic about are ghosts real?
Oh, that's a good one.
Because you and I, we've experienced
Shared experiences.
Shared
where
experiences.
We both saw something.
with one other
that-
person who has seen it, and he's probably going to want to deny it, but we know for sure, back in his head, he knows it.
We all know it fucking happened. So there was one night where we were at Brian's house, and we were all on a single tab of acid each, and it wasn't even that strong of stuff. It was pretty pure though. Definitely wasn't no test chemical shit. Like it was It was the real thing. Because you could, like, once you've done enough of it, you can tell the difference. So that's just, it's an experience thing. So anyway, we had this experience where, well, a bunch of different fucking crazy things happened that night.
I'm going to hijack the controls.
Okay, sorry.
On this one. So, I'm Korean. So, and in Korea, there's this, I don't know if it's big or not nowadays, but my family doesn't do it anymore just because of, schedules and stuff. But there's this ritual called cheza. And what it is like, you invite your, family member that had passed away, like your grandfather, your father, mother, into your house, and you have this, like, I don't know what they call it, but in Japan they got those, like, foldable things. They look like accordion. They look like accordions almost, but they have writtens on it.
They have writtens on it?
Yeah, and I don't know what it is.
Writings?
To be completely honest. Writings, writtens.
They have some writtens on them.
Sorry, I'm turning into American over here, but but anyway,
you don't really believe you're Korean, man. You're too white.
Yeah, I know.
I'm kidding.
God damn it, Bobby.
God damn it, Bobby. Stop being gay. No. I'm Hank Hill. I sell cocaine and cocaine accessories. Oh. That weird, like, fucking dull scream that he does. It's so fucking awkward. Like, it almost hurts to do. Like, it hurts the chest. Anyway, so what is the name of the ceremony again? The Chisholm?
No, Cheza.
A Cheza.
Yeah, Cheza.
A Cheza.
Cheza.
It's a Cheza. No, that's Japanese. I'm sorry.
But anyway, despite your guys' racial comments,
yeah, your guys. Who else is here with us? Is Casper chiming in?
You never
Did
know.
Tech9 say something in the background?
No, I think Tech9 respects my ceremonies.
Yes, he does, and so do I. I'm just a little buzzed right now.
No, it's okay.
I'm having a good time. I'm in a good mood.
I like to give people who make fun of my culture a hard time.
I know. I'm not making fun of your culture.
I know you're not.
But I'm just I'm just shooting the shit with you. But no, I know what you're getting at.
It's kind of hard for people to understand other cultures, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so foreign to them. I mean, yeah, obviously I'm from a foreign country, but, like, when you're not doing those rituals, it's foreign. But anyway,
so
apart from eating dogs,
I thought only the Chinese did that.
I'm pretty sure the Chinese still do that. But
do the Koreans do that?
No, Koreans outlawed it.
Oh yeah, they did. Okay. So anyway, this ceremony, you summon one of your dead ancestors, and we accidentally, inadvertently did that night.
I wouldn't say it was accidentally.
Did you know what we were doing? Because I didn't know. We
did a very mediocre.
I didn't know there was a name for that when we were doing it. I just, like, felt the spirits come to me, and then I felt the urge to, like, have this ceremony where we just had, like, this weird, like, party where we literally sat there in a living room and, like, drank and smoked weed with our ancestors, and then we went out on his back patio. You had, like, this deck.
Yeah, so we got this little deck in the backyard, just a tiny little backyard, and Koreans being Koreans, we smoke cigarettes.
And you smoke them out of the dead sometimes. Yeah. I think I did that too. Like, I don't know where we got that from, but
we had this weird offering because in a regular Cheza ceremony, we lay out a table full of food. We let them eat first, and then we eat ourselves afterwards. The ceremony, once we say goodbye, it's kind of like a physical Ouija board.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, after we say goodbye, we close the door.
As opposed to the non-physical Ouija board.
Yeah.
Like those ones that are made of smoke. I like those ones are so much fun to play with. Or like the one made of water.
Yeah. I never heard of that. Shit, what the fuck?
Water Ouija. That's a joke.
This guy's fucking with me again.
I think it's this Starburst. The second I fucking cracked it, I started cracking jokes. But no, so anyway, in the ceremony, you normally do like a big spread.
Yeah, so we put out a bunch of food, and traditionally we let them eat first, and then we eat. Because, we can't let food go to waste. whatever culture you're from, you don't let food go to waste. But we eat, and then that's the end of the ceremony after you eat.
Mm-hmm.
In our case, we did it so mediocrely. We didn't mediocrely. Sorry, this beer's getting to me. We didn't put out a whole feast of food or anything. So we're like, well, it's just my grandfather that I had never met before. He had passed away before I was born, and whatever ancestors from his family or the other buddy's family came to join us and have a little fun. We go out into the back porch and we offer them cigarettes. And the cigarette that I had offered to my grandfather got smoked.
Yeah, and I offered one to my late Uncle Donald.
Yeah.
Because there are reasons. I tell that story some of the time. Like, me and my late uncle have a lot in common. Apparently, I looked just like him when he was younger, and he also liked to trip a lot and smoke weed. And he passed away when I was 6, and he's been I felt his spirit with me ever since then. Like, especially as I get older and older, it's like I get more in tune with whatever energies he was in tune with before he got depressed. Or, well, I guess he was depressed his whole life. But, and anyway, so that was one of the spirits that I called forth that night, because whenever I'm tripping, I like to think about my Uncle Donald, because it's like, I like to think that, well, if we are connecting with the spirit world when we're tripping, I feel like I definitely have on some trips. I don't think it happens every trip, but definitely some of the time, some trips you're connecting with the spirit world. And so whenever I feel that, I like to think about Uncle Donald and like give a toast to him, or smoke a bowl for him, or just honor him in some way. Because I feel like he's protected me a lot throughout my life, and also helped me through a lot of shit. So I had lit a cigarette from my Uncle Donald. Now, when we say that we smoke these cigarettes, what we're talking about, I'm not saying that
we took a hit to get them started.
Yeah, we took a hit to get them started. Now, modern day cigarettes have a fucking a built-in auto. Fuck, my brain is farting. They will put themselves out. Yeah. They build that into the cigarette with a certain chemical to where it won't continue burning if you're not hitting it. That way you don't sort of fucking forest fire. You can toss it, but it'll put itself out. So, and it was a cold fucking night that night. It was cold, it was windy, the kind of thing where the cigarettes would have gone out. Anybody's ever smoked a cigarette outside in the cold wind knows that thing goes out unless you continuously sit there hitting it. The wind just puts it out. So we took the hit to get them started. And they started going good. They were fucking smoking stronger than they should have been. And we okay, let's put these down. So we put them down on the counter, or the railing of the deck. And for the next hour, the cigarettes, they just sat there. And slowly, they would sit there for a minute and smolder. And then it would there would be a drag. Yeah,
you could see someone taking a drag from it.
Yeah, if it was a continuous, I have a stick of incense burning in front of us here. And here, pick it up and show you. When this thing is burning, it's burning continuously. There's a continuous trail of ash that comes off because it's just one steady stream. It's just continuously burning down. The cigarettes weren't doing that. These cigarettes on the rail, they would sit there and not burn for a second, and then they would pull back a full 2-3 millimeters, someone took a fat drag, and then just sit there again for another few minutes. And then they would pull back another few millimeters, someone was going like a real heavy smoker was coming in and just killing it it's nobody's business. And then it lasted an hour, which didn't make any sense either. It's a normal cigarette doesn't burn for an hour.
And then one thing I did notice was, we both noticed it because we talked about it, but the cigarette he put out for his uncle only smoked to the halfway mark of his cigarette, and it went out, and then we felt his presence leave.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the one I put out,
yeah, your grandfather finished that cigarette.
We had to wait for that cigarette to be finished before we felt his presence leave.
Yeah, he was like, I'm smoking this whole cigarette.
Yeah. And here, the crazy thing is, after we went back in, we felt an army of our ancestors, whether we know the history of our own ancestors or not.
It was a mass army of everyone from your side, and then a mass army of everyone from my family.
But they weren't fighting. They were
coming together to fucking
cool.
to join forces. And here's the even crazier part of the story. Do you remember when that night was?
Wasn't it Halloween?
Well, that was the night we released Kinectionz.
Oh shit!
So the night we release the album Kinectionz, we have this random spontaneous acid trip where armies of our ancestors come together, join forces like a connection. They become connected, and then like this huge spiritual fucking conglomerate forms. And it's like the implications of that are just astronomical.
Yeah.
Like,
So basically, what we're getting at is on that night, I think the both of us had realized that those spirits
they're
are
definitely
real.
real. Oh yeah, they're definitely fucking real. Like you can't. Well, you can. There are plenty of people who've never experienced that will categorically deny it, and it's I wish I could show them. You know, like the people who don't believe, I wish I could like give them proof. But I mean, they're not supposed to know. If they don't already know, they're just not supposed to.
Yeah.
They don't need to. And I kind of envy them. I really do. There's certain things I know now that I wish I didn't know. Because I feel like it puts a target on my back. That makes me sound like a paranoid, schizophrenic nutball. But in all actuality, the things I've experienced in my life, the more I delve into this type of spiritual thought and spiritual learning, and like trying to communicate with spirits on the other side, learn from them, and get in tune with my own soul, all of this, like the more I delve into that, the more I feel this negative influence from the outside world that tries to pull me away from that. And it's not like the whole world is against me. I don't feel that. But there are like certain negative influences that come that try to stop you. Like you're saying that one night, like there was some force that just tried to stop you from finishing Fear and Loathing because it didn't want you to be in that vibe. There was something about that it didn't want you to have.
There's a point to where you can learn as much as you want, but it really depends on where you're at mentally. And, you know, sometimes just you could do as much acid as you want in your lifetime, but there's a point to where it's going to be unhealthy for you.
Well, yeah, that too. You can't trip every day or every week
Well,
or
I'm not
even every
saying that,
month.
but,
You
like,
should like.
Just like in general, dude, like the more knowledge you gain, sometimes
Well, yeah,
the
you
worse
can't.
it is.
Yeah, you can know too much. Like, wasn't there that one dude? I don't remember. I don't think he was in the Underachievers because the Underachievers are all still alive, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so there was
Are you talking about Capital Steez?
Yes, that one guy who used to work with Joey Badass.
Yep, Capital Steez.
Yeah, he killed himself because he knew too much. And that's what Joey Badass says about it now in interviews. He's like, at one point in time, right before he committed suicide, Capital Steez just had this glazed look in his eye. Like he just wasn't here in this world anymore. He had gone too far into that world and he just wasn't there anymore.
Yeah.
But like when I say that, like, I think that's totally viable. Like you have to be careful. You have to have a balance between how much you live in this world and how much you indulge in that world. Like you have to focus on the physical and take care of yourself because you can't just lie around in a puddle of your own filth meditating all day. You gotta shit and shave and shower. The three important shushes. But you have to take care of yourself. You have to eat, use the bathroom. You have to drink water. You have to sleep. No, I mean, we were talking about that earlier about those Buddhist monks. Like supposedly there's this idea that you could sit there and meditate until you transcended your body, but I don't think it's as easy as just meditating till it happens. I think that there's a very specific kind of practice and specific pinpointed meditation that puts you to that transcendent level. You can't just start with that from day one, just picking up a book on Buddhism and saying, I'm going to transcend death just with one meditation. You can't
it
do
doesn't
that.
work like that.
Yeah, you have to
You have to train for it for years.
It's just like learning to swim. You're not going to jump in the deep end of the pool and then expect to be a master swimmer. You're going to have to start in the shallow end. Dip your toe in the water first. See if you like the water. Dip your legs in. Get in the fucking shallow end. Swim around, play around. Then you learn to swim. Then you swim into the deep end, and then you don't stay there forever because you will eventually get tired and drown. And then you go back in a couple of days, and then you can swim for longer. And then that's kind of how it is when you're doing these deep spiritual meditations, when you're delving into esoteric knowledge, when you're taking psychedelics and going to the other side and learning this shit. There's many different avenues for
everything you do in life.
Yeah, you have to take it. You have to take it piece by piece. You can't take it all at once.
Yeah, and nothing's going to happen instantly in life.
You got to work for it. You got to train for it.
But to circumvent, back to what I was saying a minute ago, there is that other thing that really kind of bothers me about the nature of the world that we live in, and it's something that I cover a lot in Nameless Music. It's kind of one of the main reasons why Nameless Music exists. Like, the Nameless one came to me and said, hey, would you be like this vessel and a voice for knowledge that I want to give? And I'm not the only one. There's plenty of fucking musicians and artists in the world who are like a mouthpiece or like an instrument that Nameless speaks through. The Nameless one is this force of good that's trying to change something that's fundamentally wrong with this world.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I've spent many, many years trying to figure it out, and I still can't figure it out, because whatever it is, the thing, it's like an entity or a group of entities, and it does not want to be found. It does not want anybody to know what it is. Even us talking about it right now, I can feel this really slight pull, like something's trying to get me to stop talking about it.
Oh,
And it's
yeah,
like
I
that.
definitely feel that too right now.
And it's like there's this thing that happened recently on one of my trips where like I was having like this really, really deep, beautiful, introspective trip, and at one point I was like, I want to watch this one show, Bleach. And I mean, the implications of that are, I was watching season 1 of Bleach, and in season 1 of Bleach they describe how hollows are formed. Now, that's just an anime, just a TV show, could be entirely bullshit, but listening to that and watching that during that acid trip had meaning for me, even if it was just personal to me. Like, I think there are some things that we can learn and gain from, but it's just unique to us. Like, it's not that there was any magic knowledge in Bleach specifically, it's just that I was able to use that as a catalyst to figure some other things out about myself.
Right.
And something did not want me to do that. Something did not want me to have that experience. It's like, I remember, like, I'd go to turn the show on, and for whatever reason, my internet was not working. And I had, like, high-speed, no-glitch internet at the time, and, like, my phone was connected to it, and, like, if I had just been on the internet, like, I'd just been on Google looking some random shit up, and then I fucking go to, like, to Hulu, or to Netflix, one of the two, I remember when, and, like, I try to get on the fucking site to watch the thing, and it, like, every time I would get on it would just crash, for no reason, like, it would just shut off again, and it, like, during the trip, there was this moment where I felt like, way before I tried watching Bleach, I had several moments during that trip specifically where I felt like I could reach my consciousness outside of my head and touch things with it, almost like a psychic connection, but not telepathic or telekinetic. Like, I didn't feel like I could move physical objects with my mind. It's more like I could affect them electrically. Like, I could imbue my essence into things by, like, extending my consciousness towards them. And so I had this moment where, like, I'm looking at the fucking TV screen thing, okay, like, what if I just did that with my mind, and I, like, reached my mind outside of my fucking skull to the TV and, like, forced it to start playing. But there was, like, this weird lock that I had to go through. Like, someone had put, like, a barrier in between me and this thing I was trying to do. Like what happened with you and going into the garage to smoke. There was some wall there. And it, like, I had to actually, like, punch through it with my mind and, like, force it to happen. And it, like, it's just one example of there's something in our world that causes certain bad things to happen, affects negative change in the world, and, like, feeds off of the negative energy that comes from bad things happening. From people having shitty lives, being depressed, and, like, suffering, and being murdered, and taking drugs, and, like, all of these things that just create negative energy and, like, mass spiraling fucking cloud storms of suffering. Something feeds on that. And it's like we're living in it's almost like we're living in a farm. We're the farm animals, we're the livestock, and it's feeding off of that.
Yeah.
And, like, it... So that's one reason why I do Nameless Music. Like, one thing I'm trying to combat with that, I'm trying to give people the knowledge that this negative force doesn't want people to know about. Because, like, if you have the knowledge to empower yourself, then you can get out of the negativity, and you no longer feed the darkness, or whatever the fuck that is, you know? or they. I don't think it's an it. I don't think it's one thing. It's not like the devil, like the Christians put it. It's more like a multitude of devils, like a bunch of demons, like millions of them, like these shadow beings that we've both seen. Like some of them are spirits, but I've seen the ones that I saw. They didn't feel like Native American spirits to me, like lost souls. They felt like they just felt like evil entities, like not even ghosts of humans. Like they were just like evil shadow things. And like I don't know what the fuck they were.
Yeah, this is a few months ago. I'd be able to talk more about this stuff, but I think more recently, ever since I stopped doing psychedelics, stopped smoking weed, I kind of trailed off from all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the main reason I stopped doing a lot of things, because I didn't want to end up like capital C's.
Yeah, like it puts you in tune with some shit that, like I said just a little while ago, a few minutes ago, I was like, there are some things that I know now that I wish I didn't know.
Yeah.
I feel like it puts a target on my back.
But like in everyday life, you don't think about it.
Yeah, well,
For me, everyday life, I don't think about it. I don't remember it. But like right now, you and me sitting down talking about it, I can definitely feel it, and I don't like that feeling.
dude, me neither.
And that's why I think that's why I stopped doing a lot of things.
I think this is one reason I have the same problem. Like, I'm talking about this now, and I'm surprising myself with how easily I'm able to talk about this. Because this is the first time in, like, almost a year
Because
or more.
before this, anytime we would try to talk about it,
Mm-hmm.
something would distract us.
Yeah, something would distract
and
us.
then we'd get on to another topic.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because maybe inside of ourselves, something's like, you guys aren't ready for it. Give us some time.
Mm-hmm.
Just chill out. Have a good time, But, yeah, I mean, it's really sensitive. I mean, what it takes for us to be able to handle everything that you could know about this universe is beyond me. Maybe no humanoid soul or spirit can handle it, And maybe that's just what these entities that are holding us back from actually talking about it is basically getting at. Like, hey, maybe we're not against you guys. Maybe we're trying to protect you.
Yeah, I just got that same feeling. Like, it's not like the evil beings themselves are trying to stop us from talking about it.
And they're not trying to harm us. They're more like,
It's like there's something else. Like,
we just don't want you guys to know a little too much.
Right. Like, if you could say the word guardian angel, that could be a word for it. Spirit guides, like, there's some kind of force that could. And I mean, I have felt beings like that in my lifetime where, like, I felt like there was one or more positive entities around me, like a spirit or an angel or something like that, like just a force of good that was protecting me. And mostly what I feel is the protection. Like, I can't really say that I feel the entity's presence fully because I'm not as in tune with that shit as I used to be when I was young. Like, even just a couple of years ago, I've kind of done the same thing you have, where, like, I've distanced myself from it because it makes me uncomfortable thinking about it during your day-to-day life, because when you start to think about it, like, really in depth, you want to do something about it. You see, like, what if there are evil entities controlling the world, feeding off of people? Wouldn't you want to stop them? I would. I'd be like, fuck those motherfuckers. Like, what if, like, my family is being affected by that? And it probably is. I think everyone's family is affected by that. People we love are being controlled in ways that we don't even understand. And, like, you can't be thinking about that, like, when you have to go to work and make money to buy food so you can fucking make it to the next day. Like, you can't think about that kind of shit because there's nothing you can really do about it. And the reason there's nothing we can really do about it is because the real weapons, the real ability to fight, that's the information that is most kept hidden.
Yeah.
That's the shit that is the most difficult to look up. Every time I've ever looked up, like spiritual weapons, spiritual fighting, magic, like real combat magic that you could use to like fight evil, not do evil. It's like nowhere to be found. Even though there's stories of it. Like there's stories of like the Greek heroes that used to have like magic powers to fight evil with. Where's all that shit? What the fuck is all those weapons of bronze that were handed out by Zeus to every fucking child that he had? I'm kidding. These are all. I don't think any of that shit is really real. But there are so many stories of heroes, like damn near superheroes. The demigods is what they really were. And not just in Greek and Roman mythology, but all throughout every culture. There's a story of a hero, someone who's basically like a superhero in almost every culture. It's a human with supernatural abilities that was either garnered through an accident or given to them by the gods or spirits, or they were just born that way, or something like that. But there are these beings in history who had the ability to like fight against the darkness. Well, Jesus Christ was a good example of one of them. And look at what they did to him. They nailed his ass to a piece of wood. He fucking lost the battle. And then they built the church on his sacrifice, and like that's what people are worshiping when they go to the Christian church. They're not actually following the teachings of Christ. They're worshiping his death and his sacrifice. That's why the symbol of the church is a cross and not a fish.
Yeah, I guess the conclusion is
The conclusion.
everything is fucked up, and you just gotta be fucked up enough to get through it.
That's the way most people are living. But how long can we sustain a world like that? Like people are one of the ways people escape is fucking, and they're having more kids because they're always fucking. And eventually, we're gonna get into a world where there's 9 billion people, no resources left, no drugs left to keep us sedated, and everyone's gonna wake up to what the fuck is this shit prison matrix thing that we've been living in? Why are we all doing this? Eventually, something's gonna happen. Push is gonna come to shove. Eventually, the buck has to stop somewhere. We're like, even if we can't do anything now, we don't know how to do anything now, and like the powers of the heroes have been lost to time and history. Eventually, something has to be done.
Eventually, yeah.
Even if we lose in the process, like the world needs to change. Whatever bad shit is being done to people, we have to do something to stop it. Even if it's just other people that are doing it. Like there's one idea out there that it's like not even ghosts who are committing the evil, that it's just humans. Like it's certain people that are really, really fucked in the head that like to hurt other people, and they're the ones making the world bad for everybody. And that the spirits are all for good. All the spirits are trying to help us. But that's just one idea. I think I've encountered enough dark spirits to say that there's definitely something bad on the other side.
Yeah.
I've seen it on DMT many times.
Yeah, and I guess I was just lucky enough to be surrounded by some positive people.
Yeah, me too.
And maybe those positive people are even real beings. For the time being, they are real beings, but maybe they've been set down from whatever higher power to give us ease in this world that's so hard.
Yeah, I think so too.
And sometimes it's weird. It's like those good people can be very foreign to you too. I know a couple people that have done everything for someone who has done a lot of bad things in their life, and yet that bad person still does bad things to those good people, but those good people still do whatever it takes for that bad person to switch up.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't always work like that. I don't believe that us good people should go out of our ways to try to fix those bad people, because in the end, those bad people aren't going to change, despite how much we help them.
Not everyone does. No,
Not
some of
everyone
them
does.
can.
There's
I've
a lot
seen
of
it.
people that do.
But no, I know what you're talking about. There's some people who can't change. They just
cannot change.
they're just incapable of it for whatever reason.
Maybe that's not their fault. Maybe they've just gotten too deep into it to be able to pull out from it, and there's nothing that at least I can do, you can do. Maybe there's someone out there who can, but until that person comes into their life, it probably won't ever happen.
Yeah, it takes like people like that, the people who are almost incapable. I don't think anyone is 100% incapable of change because everything changes. I bet you that person's gonna die. That's a form of change. They went from living to dead, so they're capable of change in that sense. But I think they're almost incapable of changing their personality and their ways and their behavior patterns. And like in order for someone like that to truly change, there has to be an extreme catalyst. Like they have to suffer a severe head injury, or somebody special has to come into their life who's so influential that it really does break through their barrier, their wall. Like that classic Pink Floyd album, The Wall. If anybody doesn't know, like there's a lot of people out there who listen to Pink Floyd and shit like that, but you have no idea what The Wall is really about. The Wall is about a man named Pink, who's a celebrity musician, world famous international star, and he starts to build this metaphorical wall in his mind out of his depression and his angst and his sadness, and he uses it to block out the rest of the world because he thinks that that's what's keeping him safe. And at the end of the album, the end of the story, his inner demons like attack him, and like all his bad memories and all the bad things he's done to other people and his mistakes and bad things people have done to him, and like all the shit that he's running from, it attacks him in his mind, and they tear down the wall. And he has this mental breakdown, and they find him naked in the bathroom. I don't think he dies, but which is I really do think he dies, but yeah, no. So like the idea of the wall is that like a lot of people do that in their lifetime. Like you don't have to be a superstar to do that. You want to hit that. Thank you. Like people will build up these mental barriers to things that they don't want to deal with, and it eventually comes back to haunt them. You can't do that forever. You can't run from everything. There's certain things that you can turn your back on and never think about again because it's good to turn your back on some things, to let some things go. But you can't like have something you're holding on to and you're also running away from. That just fucking contradicts itself. Like you got all this negative baggage inside you and things that you haven't dealt with and truly let go of. And instead of dealing with it and letting go of it, you just build up a wall in your mind and put it all, like you basically sweep it under the rug, put it in the junk drawer. One day the junk drawer's full and it explodes on you. That's what a mental breakdown is. I think we should wrap this up soon. I can sense you're kind of tired.
Oh, I'm not tired.
Oh, you can go piss if you want. Just shut the door. So yeah, this has been fun. Like, I have to say, like, I try to do this podcast once a week, and I haven't done it in like almost 2 months, maybe exactly 2 months to date. I don't even fucking know. And the reason for that is because on the last podcast, the dude I had on last time, Porkchop, he was talking about some shit on air that I really wish he hadn't talked about on air. And I've been trying to get some other people on the show, because I would gladly do it myself, but I like having guests on the show. It's like an interface. I might do a couple of solo shows in the coming weeks just to keep the consistency. That way I can put out one show every week. But you know, life circumstances, you get distracted, you get busy. But the main reason I haven't done a show in so long, even though I've been meaning to, is because I just was trying to find someone else to get on the show, and I couldn't get anybody else in here. And I didn't want to have him come on again because I was like, dude, you should not have brought that up. And I'm not even gonna say what it is that he said that I disapprove of, because we talk about a lot in this show. There's a lot of things that I do approve of, and there's other things that, well, there's only like a small subset of things that I'm like, don't talk about that. And it's things that could get me into trouble. Like, let me just say this, like, just go back and watch the previous episode, and you'll see him talking about it. And like the second he brings it up, I get this look on my face like, and then I shut him down. I'm like, hey, stop talking about that. I believe you and all this blah 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 and whatever, but I don't want other people knowing about that. They don't need to know all that about you, and I don't want them associating that with me. This thing that he said, like, that's just fucking. I don't think I can even associate with that person now because of that.
Probably.
You gotta be careful. Oh, I'm not gonna say. You missed it.
I sure did.
Yeah, no. I was talking about how in my last show, my the guy I had on as my guest in the last episode, he said some that shit that I'm like, dude, I wish you'd have just not said that. Nobody needs to know about that.
Right.
Like, it happens to, like, for God's sake, why would you bring that up? We're still live, by the way.
Oh, we are?
Yeah, he's moving over there and sat down in the recliner. He's like, well, time to kick back and chillax.
Already know.
Victory lap! Like, no, we're not done yet.
Oh, yeah.
We can be.
Um,
I don't mean, I'm good with an hour and 20. Like,
I mean, I guess we could,
I guess we don't want to make it too long.
no, I don't want to make it too long, because I don't,
pretty sure y'all guys don't want to fucking go through all of that, especially at the end where we were kind of getting off the deep end, and some of those people, some of you guys out there are going to be like, what the hell is wrong with you guys?
oh yeah, there's a lot of people who see this, like, if a lot of people do ever watch this, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be like, oh, that sounds like bullshit. If you don't believe it, that you're free to not believe it, you know, I'm not a fucking scientist, I don't have, like, gobs and fucking scores of data, I haven't done scientific studies, I'm not an expert, I've just had first-hand experience in these things. All I can do is tell the stories, things that I've actually been through, and things that I've seen myself. Like,
Yeah.
I can tell you about music day and night. I am an expert in that. I'm a fucking professional when it comes to making music. Like, I tell you about sound bites and sound waves and mixing and mastering and fucking how to record, which buttons to press. I can tell you about that all day long. I am an expert in that. When I talk about that shit, that's for real. But everything else is just stories, you know? And I mean, we're not making any of this up. Like, none of the things that him and I have talked about, none of it is made up. You know, we're just two guys talking about the different trips that we've had on psychedelics. And I mean, we even said during this episode that, like, it's quite possible that some of these, or if it's possible that all of it is just in our imagination. That all psychedelics are a catalyst for the imagination, and that everything that you're seeing is in your mind. And if that is the case, the big question is, why the fuck is that there? Like Terrence McKenna talked about that. Like, if it's all in your mind, why is that in your mind? Why does that need, why the fuck is that there? Like, if it's almost like if you, in a car, you found Pandora's box in the trunk, like literally the Pandora's box from Greek mythology, the doorway to another dimension, and you found that in the fucking tire compartment in your trunk. You're like, why the fuck is that there? There was only like one magic key that opened up that box, and you found it on your key ring. And you're like, oh, I wonder what this key does. I've never actually used it before. And you fucking go and open it up, and then the fucking Pandora's box, it was just like, why is that there? Why the fuck is that there?
Crazy shit, man.
That's all I can say. It's some food for thought for sure.
Like you said, you don't have to believe anything that we've experienced. And if you do believe in it, cool. But yeah, it's just things get overwhelming. I'm only 2 beers deep, and I'm
having a good time.
Yeah, he's having a good time. Okay, I think let's wrap this up. I can sense my associate here has you feel like you've said too much on your own part, because I don't. I fucking talk about this shit all the time. Well, actually, no. I feel like I maybe even said too much, because there's certain things that I know that just should not be talked about. It's not that it's not true or it's so crazy that people think I'm crazy. I'm not worried about that. It's just that
the CIA.
It's just shit that just should not be talked about, because if it is true, it could get you in trouble talking about it, and if it's not true, it makes you sound crazy. So, either way, yeah. I mean, we've had it, but these are the kind of conversations that I like. This is what this show is all about, because you can't put all of this into a 3-minute rap song. There's no fucking way.
I mean, like he said, he's an expert on music. I'm an expert on vehicles. You guys got any questions about your catalytic converter? There you go. But you want to know how your ignition system works? I'm your guy. But no, I mean, that's not what this topic's about.
So let's change topics here for a second, so we can talk about something different. Now, you're going to school for your mechanics certification, right?
Well, I
Are you
wouldn't
going to open
say
your own
it's,
shop after that?
It's not a certification. It's more like a. So, there's a lot of systems in today's vehicles that are very helpful that make your vehicle run, and a lot of people think that just put a battery in it, it'll run good and all that stuff, but that's not the case. I'm not going to school for a certification. I'm getting an associate's degree. I guess that's a certification. It's sort of a certification, but what it is, it's an associate's degree in automotive technology. And with everything growing nowadays, there's a lot of computers involved in vehicles and cars and semis, trucks, boats. They're farm vehicles. There's a lot of technology involved in that, and it all brews down to like the first invention of the vehicle, really. That's pretty much what my schooling is. They teach you the theory of how things work, the engineering side of it. For example, right now I'm taking automatic transmissions in school, and what makes the automatic transmission better than the manual transmission? Well, it's kind of obvious. You don't have to press your foot into the clutch pedal to change gears. Everything does it by itself according to computerized data from the engine to the transmission. And that's very fascinating. I mean, how does a car read engine data
Well, there's a computer in it that does
to
that, right?
tell what the transmission to do?
Yeah, right.
Well, there's a lot of sensors and stuff.
But isn't it in newer cars, it is a computer. Like, there's an actual computer core in there, like a motherboard that actually processes the data.
So, newer cars from, I want to say, 1990s up until today, they have these things called ECM. It's called an electronic control module. And on top of that ECM, there's TCMs, transmission control modules. On top of the TCM, there's body control modules, BCMs. BCMs control all the heater, air conditioning, defrost, all that sort of stuff, ECMs control all the engine components like crankshaft sensors, camshaft sensors, ignition timing, fuel delivery. TCMs control what the transmission's supposed to do based on the data made from the ECM.
Okay.
So basically, automatic transmissions run on the speed of the engine. It's elementary. You take out all the BCMs. You take out a lot of the I'm still trying to wrap my mind around it. It's very difficult to understand. I feel
Sounds like it. I'm hearing what you're saying, and I feel like I'm understanding all these words separately, but not as like English. I'm hearing like a bunch of acronyms and so the BPM to the TCM to the EGC to the EKC to the EKG to the DICK, bitch. Like you're doing some fucking letter rapping.
Yeah,
I'm kidding. No,
it's okay.
I understood some of what you were talking about, but it just kind of is really. I don't know enough about cars to say. I don't know. Yeah, I don't.
That's why I'm here. I'm the guy that fixes cars, really, and a lot of people want to think that mechanics are trying to take people for dummies and take their money, which isn't the true case.
It's a complicated job.
It's a very complicated job. There's thousands of things in the car that can cause one problem. I'm not going to say thousands, but there's multiple things that can cause something to make your car run wrong.
Right.
For example, say you have your
Hold on one second. Hey, what's up?
It's coming up. Wherever he has his brain. Well, we can smell it.
Well, he's from Columbus.
Yeah, it's giving him a headache and it's stressing him out. No, it's cool. It's just, yeah, his dad just died, so.
I did notice
Don't worry about it. No, I kind of understand.
Yeah, it's just so for anybody who's wondering where we are currently, I'm in the basement of a house. This is my room that I'm renting out down here, and my landlord has migraine problems. So, anyway, do you want to go ahead and snag one of those? The problem was I let that stick again since, and
It's going up.
yeah, he doesn't like the smell, gives him a headache.
Fair enough.
So we're gonna cover it up with cigarettes now.
No worries.
Because he smokes Camels. I think he should be okay with the smell of a Camel.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really tell the difference between cigarettes, but other than menthols, but that's kind of obvious. I really don't like menthols.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, you were saying with the car thing.
So, back before we got disrupted, say you have a misfire code, there's a check engine light on your car. It comes on.
Mm-hmm.
And then you take it to AutoZone, O'Reilly's. They read that code on a little machine. It's called a scan tool. There's many variations of it. They're either cheap as $100 up to $15,000.
Mm-hmm.
That $15,000 scan tool will tell you more than just what the codes are for your check engine light.
Mm-hmm.
Manufacturers in the world, as far as cars, cars all have laws to where they have to abide by certain restrictions. So, say P0300 code,
Mm-hmm.
that's universal for a Honda all the way up to a BMW to a Ferrari, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I've never worked on a Ferrari, so they might have different codes, but up to a BMW P0300 from a BMW to a Honda, it's going to be the same code. It's going to tell you that it's a multiple engine as misfire. And what a misfire means is that your spark plugs that control the fire
Keep talking.
with the combustion process is off. It's off of timing. So with that said, you have another code, say a knock sensor code, and sometimes you don't actually have a misfire. The cause of that problem could be a knock sensor. And that knock sensor reads the. So I guess a little background on these sensors. A knock sensor, it reads the kind of like very complicated to understand. I mean, they read just a bunch of algorithms and values of what the other sensors are reading. So that knock sensor kind of reads the how much knock is in your engine. And as far as like knock, it means like not like engine knock where like you're driving your car and it sounds something fierce like it's about to blow up.
Mhm.
It tries to prevent that. That's why there's so many electronics in your cars, because it's the manufacturers want your car to run as long as possible.
Okay.
So knock sensors, camshaft sensors, crankshaft sensors, they're all going to, not only are they, critical for timing of how your engine runs, but it's critical to keep your engine running as long as possible. And sometimes 2 different codes will pop up, and once you fix one code, it'll erase the other code on itself. So there's hundreds of systems in cars. One system can fix the other system in the car. I'm trying to wrap a lot of things around my head as far as what each sensor does. I mean, obviously, crankshaft sensors and camshaft sensors are pretty elementary. Knock sensors are a little bit harder to understand because they don't really necessarily read they kind of read the performance of your engine based on the crankshaft sensor and the camshaft sensor.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, I have a hard time understanding it still now. All I know is that if you have a knock sensor that's gone bad, you replace it. And sometimes those things are not very easy to get to. From the placement of those things, so I work in a shop right now, and I've gained a lot of experience working in a shop plus going into school, because that's how I figured it'd be the best way to learn. As far as the placement of the knock sensor, it's usually right after the camshaft sensor. So I feel like it reads what the crankshaft sensor is doing. And I don't necessarily mean by the graphing of the crankshaft sensor. I mean it reads how efficiently that crankshaft sensor is running. Now you might be thinking to yourself, what the hell does graphing have to do with cars?
Yeah, a little bit.
So, have you ever heard of pulse width modulation? They use that for crankshaft sensors and fuel injectors.
Okay.
Fuel injectors, obviously, you need fuel to drive the car, but do you know what the fuel does to the car?
Well, the fuel ignites. It creates the fire. That's the combustion in the engine, right? That's what causes the pistons to fucking go up and down.
Spark plugs.
Yeah, okay.
So, you need that fuel to mix with the air for that spark plug to ignite the combustion, to push that piston down.
Okay.
And without the crankshaft sensor, if that piston is, say, right here at the bottom, when it should be at the top, at the compression stroke, what use does that fuel, spark, and air do if it's at the bottom? That car's not going to start.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's very complicated. I'm not going to sit here and act like a master technician, because I obviously am not. But it's very complicated how cars are
Yeah, it sounds like
built
it.
nowadays. I mean,
That was fucking mind blowing, dude.
You can talk about
feat of engineering
70s,
masterpiece. It's crazy.
60s and 70s, man. Like ignition timing, you didn't need any of those sensors, man. You just needed the distributor cap, and all you had to do was move that distributor cap by hand, get that timing right. With the timing right, of course, so you can see where the timing mark is on the crankshaft pulley.
Yeah.
So you could see where it is every time it's going up and down. But we're talking, obviously those pistons in a car are moving thousands of times per minute.
Jesus.
That's why they call them revolutions.
Yeah.
Revolutions per minute, not rotations per minute. Revolutions.
So rotation is just one spin. Revolution is several, right?
Yeah, revolution is because on a crankshaft isn't completely circular.
It's
It's-
oval, right?
It's balanced. They got these little plates, these metal plates on the crankshaft of it. So it's a shaft with metal plates coming out of it, and they balance the crankshaft so it's evenly balanced, and the pistons go onto the crankshaft to move up and down while that crankshaft is moving,
Okay.
rotating. And that rotation converts it into like revolutions, and that's what makes the pistons go up and down. So, I mean, it's very complicated. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around a lot of things in automotive. A lot of people like to complain about, oh, I just came here to start being a mechanic. But nowadays, people who fix cars aren't considered mechanics, we're called technicians. Because of the fact that we have to do so many diagnosing with the vehicle to figure out what the real problem is. Because there's so many things that go into it, especially with electrical issues, you know? Like, you could have a broken wire that's causing your car to run rough. But still, there's a lot of mechanical things that wear and tear, but
Like a dragon.
they've been proven to work. So we keep those stuff in. But I think as much as everybody likes to shit and piss on electrical vehicles, I think electrical vehicles are really cool.
No, dude, I like the Tesla. I think it's an amazing vehicle.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's a
I mean,
feat of engineering that far surpasses even the fucking car. Like everything you just explained with a car, that's a combustion engine.
Yeah.
That I didn't understand half of what you said. I was trying really hard to like focus and wrap my mind around it, but it just was going in one ear and out the other. I'm just like, what? It was almost like you're talking about alien technology.
that's how I feel when I'm at school.
Yeah, and I mean like that was 120 years ago when that shit was invented. Maybe a little more than that.
You want to know the crazy thing?
What?
Electrical vehicles were invented before combustion engines.
What? How?
Yeah,
How?
they were.
But what?
Yeah.
Hey, tell this story. That's crazy.
Well, I haven't done a lot of research on it, and maybe it's the word of mouth of teachers. My instructors tell me this,
Jamie, can you look that up for us?
But I do believe electrical vehicles were invented before combustion engines, and maybe not like complete electrical,
Yeah.
but they had the electrical value as far as like amperage and stuff running the vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Here, I'm looking it up right now.
as far as before petroleum was used in vehicles, do you know what we used?
No.
Ethanol.
Really?
We used ethanol
Yeah,
before we
really?
used
Okay.
petroleum. Because ethanol was a lot easier to make than petroleum at the time. But I wouldn't take my word for it. If you're a mechanic out there, probably don't listen to me because I'm still in school and I don't very feel smart with that stuff. But I can do shit.
Okay, so it says here. That the internal combustion engine was 1879. That was the first two-stroke gasoline engine. And then in 1886, Carl Benz began the first commercial production of motor vehicles with the internal combustion engine. In 1892, Rudolf Diesel developed the first compression ignition engine. I'm not saying anything about electrical engines, though.
Oh,
Hold up. Okay, so we know 1879 is the first two-stroke gasoline engine. Let's say 1879 for gas. When was the electrical? Who invented the electric engine? To go with that, fine, whatever.
well, I mean, you got to think about it. Before even the combustion engine was invented, you got to think about Da Vinci.
Right.
All
Okay,
his
so
mechanical engines that he's built.
okay, so años
Istvan van Jedlik invented the electric motor in 1827. Wow. Okay. But I think this was the electric battery, not the electric motor. I don't know. I'm having trouble finding it. I'm not as good as Jamie on Joe Rogan's podcast. I need to hire a Jamie. We need to get an assistant in here. So we need to get like a Jarvis from Iron Man. Like, hey Jarvis, can you look that up for me? I don't know why fucking Rogan doesn't just invent that as an AI. Like, I know it would put Jamie out of a job. But then, like, at some point, actually, you should just have Jamie himself invent that. Just be like, hey, why don't you just write a code, an algorithm? It's basically just a new form of speech Google. It's like Siri. You just talk to it. Call it Jamie. Like, hey, Jamie, look that up for us. Be specifically for podcasts.
Why don't you do that? I mean,
then you'd make a fucking ton of money. Probably be a really, really advanced algorithm, though, because it would have to be smart enough to do that the way they do on Rogan's podcast, and they don't do it the way you do with Siri. Like, when you ask Siri a question, you have to be really specific. When Rogan asks Jamie a question, it's so fucking vague. He's just like, hey Jamie, can you look that up for us? Like, could you imagine if you said that to Siri, like, hey Siri, can you look this up for me? She's like, this, and she looks up the definition of the word this.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happens, right, with Siri.
Here, let me see if Google will do that for me. Okay, Google.
Put it up to the mic.
Can you look this up for me?
To find info about something, go to the Google app and type in the search box.
See, you're not helpful at all.
yeah, I mean, cars, I mean,
They have revolutionized the entire world in less than 100 years. And I've been thinking about that a lot in the last 6 months. I had this idea on mushrooms a while ago. It was just like this like, it just blew my mind. I had this deep realization that, like, cars have only been around like a very, very short amount of time. And they have changed our entire world. Like, the only thing that's affected the world more than cars has been cell phones and computers. Like, the telephone itself didn't revolutionize the world as much as the cell phone. Because, I mean, the cell phone gave way to the smartphone. And now everybody has one of those.
Yeah.
And the smartphone is not just a way to communicate. The smartphone is the fucking internet in your pocket. Like, it's more... You have more access to the internet with a smartphone than you do with a laptop these days. Because nowadays, with most smartphones, you're going to get, like, a data plan, and you can just get right on the fucking internet. Like, you just have Google right there at your fingertips. And it's like, we have access to the whole store of human knowledge. And, like, so the cell phone revolutionized the world that way. And it hasn't been around long enough for us to really see the implications of what it's really going to do. With cars, you can see the implication. It's been 100 years. Cars have changed the world. Like, in 100 years, we went from dirt roads to paved roads.
Yeah.
Now everybody has a vehicle. The world is crisscrossed with so many fucking roads that you can drive anywhere. There isn't an ocean in between you and it.
Yeah.
Like, you can drive over rivers. You can drive
Except
over
for,
fucking ponds, lakes.
France and Britain.
Yeah, they don't have good roads, but...
Well, I mean, they have a tunnel connecting those two, don't they?
Yeah, there's a tunnel through the mountain.
No, I mean, France and Britain.
Oh, no, you have to get on the boat for that.
Oh, really?
Like I just said, you can drive anywhere where there's not an ocean. In
See, I
between
thought
you
they
and
had
it.
a tunnel underneath that fucking state.
Shit, if they do, hold on, okay.
Yo, Jamie, we're going to have to look another thing up. I mean,
Can we go to Google?
sorry to bother you, but...
Can we go to Google?
Yeah, have you ever thought about how she feels looking things up?
What, Siri? Yeah.
No, I mean, Jamie.
Jamie's a dude.
Really?
Yeah, on Rogan's podcast,
What
Jamie's a
the
dude.
fuck? See, that tells you how much I watch Joe Rogan podcast, because...
Google heard you say that. Google heard you say, tell me how much I watch Joe Rogan podcast. And my phone started calculating numbers. It's like, according to me, I've watched 2,000 hours of this show. Okay, here, let me ask this question. Is there a tunnel connecting Britain and France?
According to Wikipedia, the Channel Tunnel is a 50.45 kilometers rail tunnel linking Folkestone, Kent, in the United Kingdom, with Coquelles, Pas-de-Calais, near Calais in northern France, beneath the English Channel at the Strait of Dover.
Okay, so they don't have a car, they have trains connecting the two.
Yeah, so there's a bullet train that goes underneath the fucking water. Basically underneath the ocean. That's insane.
That is insane.
That's insane.
Wow.
Oh my god, that's fucking crazy.
The things humans can do, man.
I know. Like it all started with fire. It all started with our ability to make fire, and from fire, we've invented all of this around us. Look at all this civilization.
All of this.
Yep. We're gonna wrap this up. Yeah, let's wrap this up. We're getting into the 2-hour mark. All right. So upcoming things. Let's wrap this up. Just quick tidbits. Be on the lookout. Be on the lookout for new music from me. Be on the lookout for new music with Brian and I. We're gonna be doing another fucking LokoMotyv Namelesz collab. I think we're probably gonna get LokoMotyv back on the scene again.
Yeah, it's been a long time, man. I mean,
you took a hiatus from it for a while, and I mean, you had your reasons, but I'm glad you're back in it now. It's good. It's good. You're a good MC. You got a good style, good message. You talk about really interesting things. It's not just like I sell drugs, I fuck girls, dance in the club, I drink in the club, drive a fast car, mumble, 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 bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. Like everybody talks about the exact same goddamn motherfucking thing. I got a cool chain. It's got a lot of diamonds. I bought it with drug money that I ruined people's lives with. I sold a bunch of crack, ruined 10,000 people's lives. Now they all lost their jobs, they're on the street, fucking crackheads, smoking. And I bought a nice diamond necklace with it. Look at how cool I am. That's the state of hip-hop nowadays. Hey, okay, so anyway, we got new music from LokoMotyv, new music from Namelesz, possible collabs between us in the future. Like, we're going to get on that, hopefully, within the next couple of weeks. And new music from Omnipotent. For anybody who doesn't know what that is, that's the triple-person group. It's the conglomerate between Namelesz, Sickness, and Skid Rowan. That's myself, AJ, Crozier, and River Halleck. And we put out a few songs before, and that was the song Rise Up. And there's a few others, but it's just the three of us. And so, like, we call ourselves Omnipotent as a super group when we come together to collab. And we're gonna hopefully have an album done for you by the end of the summer. It should be like either an EP or a mixtape or just something like a good collection of songs. And
keep your ears open for that.
And keep a lookout for more of these Nameless Notions podcasts. Like I said earlier when this dude was pissing, I'm trying to fucking do this once a week. I know I'm not always consistent with that, but keep a lookout for it either way. Alright, it's been lovely talking with y'all. May the rest of your day be as wonderful as you are.